Promo Insiders, a podcast from ASI Media that covers the topics that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm Chris Ruvo, and today we'll be offering a preview of ASI's upcoming Power Summit. To be held virtually on October 13th and 14th, the Power Summit is the premier event for the promotional products industry. Through its education and networking opportunities, the summit offers high-level content to build your promo business strategy, delivered by experts from within promo and beyond. Here to fill you in on some of the good stuff about the summit is ASI's Andy Cohen and Michelle Bell. Andy is Senior Vice President of Events, Media, and Marketing Services. Michelle is Vice President of Editorial, Education, and Special Events. Andy and Michelle, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having us, Chris. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's jump into this first question. Everybody always wants to know what's new and what's special. So tell us, what is new and special about this year's Power Summit?
Tons and tons of stuff. You know, we have a really great keynote speaker in Richard Montanez, who was the guy who was involved in the launch of Flaming Hot Cheetos. And what a great story he has. You know, he started out as a janitor at Frito-Lay and worked his way up to become a vice president by sheer chutzpah. You know, he took the CEO up on an offer. The CEO said, if anybody has any great ideas, and Richard did, and he called and reached out to the CEO and worked his way up the chain at the company, and really has a great story as far as leadership, building a diverse team, tapping into new markets, dealing with PR issues that may come up. So he's got a well-rounded message for, I think, anybody who'd be coming to the Power Summit.
Yeah, Richard, Chris was at one of our shows pre-COVID, one of our in-person shows pre-COVID.
Fort Worth, I think, Andy, yeah?
I believe it was Fort Worth. Yeah, I think, was it just?
It was the last one that I was at. I remember it distinctly. Yeah.
Fort Worth of 1950, because it feels so long ago.
Yeah,
it does, right? It may as well have been 45 years ago. But he was fantastic there, and just casually told his story. But great marketing tips, great branding tips, great personal entrepreneurial tips. So he's going to share that same story with the Power Summit audience with some updated things as well. And it should be an engaging start to the Power Summit for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember being there in Fort Worth when he spoke, and he was such a natural storyteller, and at times he had some self-deprecating humor that was good. He was just a very this is a very rich, very successful man who is eminently relatable. So I think that'll be a highlight for a lot of people. So Richard's the centerpiece. What are some other things, either new, exciting, good things that we could let folks know about?
So we're doing some one-on-one Q&As with people in the industry, and we're doing some sessions, especially yours, Chris, that has to do with really hot topics in the industry. I love the fact that we're kicking off the whole Power Summit on the first day. Tim Andrews, our CEO, President and CEO, is going to do a Q&A with the relatively new CEO of Polyconcept, who not that many people know simply because of COVID. He hasn't been able to travel. His name is Neil Ringel, and he's the CEO of Polyconcept Global, so the whole company. And he really has made some interesting decisions for the company, some of which have worked, some of which are, again, interesting. For example, the fact that he really made the decision not to go into PPE so much. And, that is evidenced by, you look at the company's sales from last year and they took a hit, but, he stands by his decision. So Tim's Q&A with him, I think, will be very interesting as far as what Neil has to say. I've only met Neil once. And he's a nice, charismatic guy. So I'd be curious what how he and Tim kind of tackle certain questions. And then your session, Chris, is immediately after on everybody's favorite topic, supply chain.
Yeah, and I'll get into that one in a little bit. But the Neil interview has me interested too, because this is a man who's now at the helm of I think they're the fourth largest supplier now in the industry, and
hard goods supplier for sure.
Yeah, and the largest hard goods, right after the big three of Sanmar, S&S, and Alpha Broder. So it's someone with quite a bit of sway and a very significant influence. And as you say, I think a lot of people are interested to learn more. We're interested to learn more where PCNA is going. Amidst all this, I know I am. Andy, for you though, just any other things, maybe we'll ask you this, just that you're looking forward to, maybe just things that you think are going to be particularly cool that you might enjoy or that you think others are really going to be into.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's we're on a pretty cool online platform that allows us to do some networking. Allows the audience to do some networking that maybe couldn't otherwise be done. So both days, it's a 2-day event, as you said, Chris, in the intro, October 13th and 14th. And both days we have set aside networking times during the agenda. So the first day we have some group networking, so you can go into 5 or 6 different rooms. I think I think it's going to be 6. Is that right, Michelle?
Correct. 6.
Yeah, so 6 rooms that each have a different topic of discussion. We'll have a moderator within each room, but so people can pop in and out depending on the topic of interest to them. And then the second day we have networking sessions where it's just quick hit one-on-one networking. So it's kind of the virtual world speed dating type approach. So you could over the span of a half hour you could meet with 7 or 8 individuals that you may not have had a chance otherwise to meet. So some cool things there. We also have some fun stuff throughout the agenda that'll give people, give people a break from what we have are very serious and important topics, but also some lighter things as well. But overall, the Power Summit usually delivers important tips and advice and planning strategies for how people can approach their planning for the next year. The Power Summit, either in person or virtually, is traditionally planned in this like fourth quarter timeframe, where it's meant to give people ideas on how to strategize and plan for the next year. So amidst all the networking and fun, there's obviously some serious and important topics that we're going to certainly give people insights on. So I think that is just a good mix for me of serious and fun and networking that'll give people lots of opportunities to connect and learn throughout the couple of days.
I laughed when you said fun because one of the videos that we're putting together is ASI has got talent, and I'm telling you right now, I'm using sardonic air quotes because no one is singing like Adele on this thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, ASI has marginal talent, I will say.
Has questionable talent.
Yeah, but neither you nor I have any talent that we've displayed on those videos.
Because our talents are conjugating verbs, Andy. You can't do that.
Come on, there's ways to show that on video. You should have done something.
I did a little drum thing for that. So
yeah, see, you have
Chris is talented. Yes.
Chris should probably win that contest. That's actual talent.
I think there's some money involved, so I hope so.
Yeah. And Jakey has a good talent. Jake Kralik has a good talent. Of course.
What's that?
I'm not telling. You gotta watch.
You're gonna have to tune into the video. There you go. There's our plug.
Okay. All right.
The virtual networking, though, Andy, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that everybody mentions about when shows are virtual is that you're losing out on the social component or the networking component. That's so key, and sometimes for a lot of people, maybe even the centerpiece of why they go to an event for those kind of opportunities. So to the extent that's possible in a virtual atmosphere, we're offering that. ASI is offering that, so that's definitely something to look forward to. It's not you're not just gonna sit there and go presentation after presentation. There's going to be those social components, but of course we have to have a lot of meat too, right, for this. And that's the one session that I know I'm going to be handling is on supply chain. And anyone listening to this, and certainly you both know that is the single biggest issue right now facing the promote. It's really the umbrella issue, right? Because all other issues seem to stem from that. And we're going to have a few really good supply chain experts on, one from within the promo industry and one from outside the industry, to just let everybody know. I think people to a degree have an idea of the root causes behind this, but we're really going to lay it out and make it very plain why the issues are what they are, and really emphasizing that this is not a promotional product specific issue. This is a global supply chain issue. I think I've said elsewhere, when Walmart has supply chain problems and Home Depot has supply chain problems, everybody's having supply chain problems, because with their buying power, they could buy their way out of problems, and they can't do it. So it's something that everybody is contending with. So we'll
if anybody's tried to buy a couch recently,
or
even the ones they have in the store, you're not seeing that for like months.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Furniture is crazy. Appliances are crazy. It's like Chris said, it's definitely not just promotional products, but it is an issue that everybody has to face.
You know, it's interesting, Chris, you said the overarching issue. I would say secondarily, the issue is staffing. And that's the session that Andy's going to do, which, you know, I find fascinating. You know, you look at the numbers and there are more jobs right now than people looking for jobs in the US. And, you know, what is going on there and will that continue? And I know, Andy, you're going to have an expert in the field of staffing and HR, and also somebody from the industry who's done a very good job as far as finding people, keeping them motivated, keeping them on staff, keeping them engaged, which is so important right now.
Yeah, it is a difficult issue. You know, finding people. There's the motivation of the people you have, and also the motivation and retention of the people you have, but also the you know, the staffing up and the hiring that people are trying to do while the economy is coming back from you know, the lull of COVID, so to speak. And people are struggling with it. You know, employers are definitely struggling with it in just about you know, every industry. So while we kind of the supply chain, kind of like the supply chain issue, while it's something specifically that promotional products companies are facing, they're certainly not alone. I mean, service companies are dealing with it in ways that we probably don't in this industry have to deal with it. You know, it's even more acute in the restaurant and hospitality industry. But how companies are facing that and what they can do, you know, sort of more importantly, what they can do to overcome it is something that we'll certainly discuss. You know, we're going to try to focus on solutions, and you know, not just look at the problem. Obviously, we'll get into and analyze why the problem exists. But what, you know, what are the few steps that industry companies, both suppliers and distributors, can take to overcome it? Where can they be looking for people? What can they do to attract people? And you know, how can they kind of, to use a cliche, think outside the box a little bit with their hiring strategies, because the same approach that you took 2 years ago, pre-COVID, probably isn't going to work today. So where can you look to hire people that that could fit open positions that maybe you wouldn't have looked previously? So some of those things that you know, will give people ideas on how to overcome the problem will be, you know, our focus for that session for sure.
Yeah, and relatedly, same thing with supply chain. We're gonna talk about, like, hey, when might all this start to normalize in the supply chain? What are suppliers and importing experts doing to try to navigate this situation as good as possible? And of course, what can distributors do to kind of best navigate? So there'll be all those kind of, you know, we want to have solutions in there, not to just diagnose the problem. So that's definitely going to be part of it. And Andy, to your point, like labor shortages, that's all impacts supply chain too, because if you can't get people in the factories to pack the shirts, and you can't get guys to work the press and the screen printing shop, stuff's not getting made. So all these issues are intersecting, and it's going to be interesting to see, I think, to hear all the insights from some of these experts, because you might be able, just from getting all that wealth of perspective, you might be able to formulate as an attendee some pretty interesting insights of your own, you know, draw your own conclusions on where you might be able to find opportunities or strategies that you could develop. So I think it should be good stuff. But Michelle, you have an interesting session too. With
First of all, I feel like, Chris, I should be tweeting every day, have you hugged your supplier today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those poor people. Jesus Christ. Like,
You know, but
no mas.
Yeah, it's a really good point though, because in some, like, none of us as consumers want to hear when you can't buy something. You know, you walk into a store and they're out of whatever it is you're looking for. Like, you don't want to hear that. And it's the same thing with distributors and their clients today. Like, a client places an order, and you know, it's an order for whatever promotional product you want it to be, and they need it 2 weeks later. Not an insane lead time. It's a bit of a rush, but not insane in historical standards. Today, a distributor could be making that call to 5 different suppliers who would usually have inventory and be able to turn that order around no problem, and they can't do it right now.
Yeah.
It is a struggle. So I like, you can see both sides of the coin. Like, you kind of making a joke there, hug a supplier, but like, it's true. You need, like, distributors really need to be close with their suppliers and know what their inventory is and know where their levels are so that they can fulfill orders for clients, because it's frustrating right now. And it's, I know, regular, like I said, regular consumers are having frustrations in Walmart not being able to get various products. Imagine what it is in this industry. It's that distributors and suppliers are facing every day. So it is an acute problem.
Yeah, and to the extent possible, man, go easy on the people working in customer service there, because the shortfalls on that side of the business are, it's not just production, it's
Sure.
big time there too. And
Totally.
and you have people sometimes responding to trying to respond to 500 inquiries a day, at some of the larger suppliers. That's kind of insane. So we're going to focus on all that. It's going to be good stuff that we're going to jump into. Again, we're going to try to have some solutions for everybody and real experts who know what's going on and how to kind of best navigate it, given what's happening.
Chris,
Michelle, you have an interesting session too, though, right? Did you want to jump into that?
yeah, in answer to your question, the one I'm really looking forward to, I'm going to do a fun rapid fire session with our colleagues Sarah Lavandusky and Teresa Hagel, and we're each going to take a topic and do 5 quick things. So mine, having spoken to a lot of people in the industry during COVID, during the past 19 months, is going to be about leadership. 5 leadership tips that I've really kind of watched, and I've seen examples of wonderful instances of leadership in the industry, and then not so much. So from that,
Would you like to share what those are?
um, from that, I'm going to glean 5 topics to share with people. And then, Chris, I'm also going to do a session on the second day. I think it's the second to the last session. We're wrapping up, by the way, with a Q&A from somebody special at ASI, but I have the second to the last session, and I'm going to talk to these 2 young guys that I'm obsessed with, not in a creepy way, from swag.com, the 2 owners and founders of swag.com. And Chris, as you know, I just did a podcast with them, and they have nicely agreed to come back and talk to me about specific case studies that they're going to share, because they truly run this phenomenal, e-commerce entity that they've kind of cracked the Da Vinci Code to it and figured out how to make it work. And it's just, they get all this real-time data. Like our colleague Nate would be like beside himself at the data that they all get in real time, and they're able to see trends and what people are buying, and they have a young customer base. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? So they're going to share some case studies with us. So I'm really excited to talk to them. And they're just really just neat, creative, really smart, very fun guys. They're so young. They're like puppies. I mean, honestly, but they're so fun.
Okay, you better stop, or else
I'm actually really looking forward.
By the wayside.
It's getting a little creepy now, Michelle, but I am looking forward to that session, because they are, the word disruptor gets thrown around a lot, and honestly it gets thrown around too much. But you could genuinely apply that to them and some of the things that they've figured out and things that they're doing, because it is, as you mentioned, so tech driven and so savvy, but they're really sharp, and this word gets overused too, but they have kind of like a hip appeal, and that I think resonates with that younger audience that they're going for, and in some sense, you could say that they're sort of what the future is starting to look like for this industry,
Well,
So
and that's what I was going to say. People need to listen, like, to that sort of thing. We're saying that it's younger buyers that they're focusing on, and that's true for the moment. But those younger buyers are going to be the buyers for good, and they're going to have expectations. They buy everything that for their home on Amazon, and they have expectations for how you can achieve that, and so they're going to expect that in their business lives as well.
That's right.
So to not listen to that sort of thing is sort of burying your head in the sand, and we don't want any of our audience to do that.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, and I think the fact that the way that technology is coming into play more and more, like, yes, we are a relationship industry, but to just say that, to say I'm not going to focus on technology at all, or not at least see what's going on there, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there are people who are able to build relationships and build very relatable, but also backed by strong technology. So I think It's going to be a pretty interesting session to learn from and get ideas from. All right, I think we've whet people's appetite for this a bit. Are there some big things before we sign off that you guys just want to emphasize, or just, kind of final thoughts on the summit, things you're excited about, things to be terrified of, whatever it might be?
Yeah, everybody should make sure to join us and go to asipowersummit.com to register. It's going to be it's going to be a great couple of days. It's like we said, it's part tips and strategies and part networking and a little bit of fun in there as well. And so there's really something for everybody.
And Andy, how are we ending the whole event? I think we should mention that.
So are we doing a Q&A with Norman Cohn? I believe it's a Q&A.
Yeah.
So the chairman of ASI, Norman Cohn, that I don't think too many people need introduction to.
I think he's like the most popular ASI person,
Oh, easy. Yeah, no doubt.
By a lot.
Walk a show floor with him for like an hour. You won't get like to more than 3 or 4 booths because everybody stops him. So yeah, we're gonna get his. We're gonna do a one-on-one interview with him and get his tips not just on the industry but life too. And he's led an extremely interesting life for sure. So we're going to hear about that and where he thinks the industry's headed. He's a soothsayer of sorts, so he's always got predictions, and we'll, I'm sure, get into that too.
Yeah, very very good. I'm looking forward to seeing that too, because he's remarkably sharp and remarkably insightful, and still very much has his finger on the pulse of what's going on, but then also brings a historical perspective as well for how far back his roots go in this industry. So, and as you say, you can't help but like him. So I think that attracts a lot of people to just listen. So
I think he's like the ultimate entrepreneur. And when we were still back in the office, he would come in, like send me little notes or come into my office and say, "Did you see that thing that happened the other day in the promo industry in Japan?" And of course I hadn't, but he had,
Yeah. He sees everything. It's truly amazing.
All right. Oh, there we go. All right, guys. I thank you, I guess, for joining me. Just any final thoughts, any parting words for anybody? Good.
It really is. I love the agenda. It's really chock full of, as Andy said, fun stuff, interesting stuff, real hardcore strategies that you can take and use. I love the fact that we've broken it up to 2 days. We surveyed people last year and we listened to what they said, that they wanted more content, but needed more time in their own schedule. So we broke it up into 2 days from 12 to 4 each day, being mindful of people on the West Coast. So I love the breakdown of how we did the sessions on both days, and I think it'll be great and fantastic.
Yeah, come join us. We look forward to seeing everybody at the virtual event.
Absolutely, come to network, come to learn. It's all come to get better, basically, right? So, Andy, Michelle, thank you both so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having us.